And good evening once again, and welcome to another edition of Jay's Retro Toys and Games. It's episode 60 on this Cinco de Mayo, May 5th, 2023. And we're hoping that you had a fantastic week. As we end our week today, we're looking at another card game. We looked at Gin Rummy on Wednesday, and today we're looking at a card game of the Rummy family of games believed to be a variant of 500 Rummy. And although many variations exist for 2, 3, 4, or 6 players, it is most commonly played by 4 in 2 partnerships with standard decks of cards. Players attempt to make the melds of 7 cards of the same rank and go out by playing all cards in their hands. It is the most recent card game to have achieved worldwide status as a classic. Tonight, on our look on episode 60, it's Canasta, right here on Jay's Retro Toys and Games. Okay, let's go ahead and delve into Canasta on this Friday edition of Jay's Retro Toys and Games. I'm your host, Jason Icanio. Once again, welcome to the show, and we hope that you had a fantastic week ahead and that your weekend is going to be filled with lots of good stuff. Well, we're looking right now at Canasta. We've given you a little description, so let's take a look at the history. The game of Canasta was devised by attorney Segundo Sanchez Santos and his bridge partner, architect Alberto Serrato, in Montevideo, Uruguay, in 1939, in an attempt to design a time-efficient game that was as engaging as bridge. They tried different formulas before inviting Arturo Gomez Hartley and Ricardo Sanguinetti to test their game. Now, after a positive reception of Canasta at their local bridge club, the Jockey Club, in the 1940s, the game quickly spread north throughout South America in myriad variations to Chile, Peru, Brazil, and Argentina, where its rules were further refined. It was introduced to the United States in 1949 by Josefina Artilleta del Vel in New York, where it was then referred to as the Argentine Rummy game by Adelaide H. Riley in 1949 and Michael Scully of Coronet magazine in 1953. In 1949 to 1951, the New York Regency Club wrote the official Canasta laws, which were published together with game experts from South America by the National Canasta Laws Commissions of the U.S. and Argentina. Canasta became rapidly popular in the United States in the 50s, with many card sets, card trays, and books being produced. Interest in the game began to wane there during the 60s, but the game still enjoys some popularity today, with Canasta leagues and clubs still existing in several parts of the United States. Santos and Serrato never patented the game rules and thus never received royalties from the latter Canasta boom. The classic game is for 4 players in 2 partnerships of 2. Variations exist for 2 and 3 player games, wherein each plays alone, and also for a 6-player game in 2 partnerships of 3. If partners are chosen, they must sit opposite each other, and Canasta usually uses 2 complete decks of 52 French-suited cards with 2 or 3 jokers per deck, making a total of 108 or 110 cards. The number of jokers varies depending on the deck. The initial dealer is chosen by any common method, although in Canasta there is no privilege or advantage to being the dealer. The deal then rotates clockwise after every hand, and the dealer shuffles the pack. The player to the dealer's right cuts, and the dealer deals out a hand of 11 cards to each player. The remaining cards are left in a stack in the center of the table. One card is taken from the top of the stack and placed face up to start the discard pile. Now, if that card is wild or a red 3, another card is turned and placed on top of it. That continues until a natural card or a black 3 is turned up. If a player was dealt red 3s, they must instantly play them face up in front of them and draw the same number of replacement cards. The player to the dealer's left has the first turn, and then play proceeds clockwise. A turn begins either by drawing the first card from the stock into the player's hand or by picking up the entire discard pile. However, there are restrictions on when one can pick up the discard pile. See picking up the discard pile below. And if the card is drawn from the stock as a red 3, the player must table it immediately as one would if melding and draw another card. Players may then make as many legal melds as they wish from the cards in their hands. A turn ends when the player discards one card from the hand to the top of the discard pile. No player may undo a meld or laid card or change their mind after drawing a card from the deck. Each player or team keeps separate melds of the various ranks of cards, and a player may never play to an opponent's meld. A legal meld consists of at least 3 cards of the same rank, and there is no limit on how large it can grow. Suits are irrelevant except that black 3s are treated differently from red 3s. Wild cards can be used as any rank except for 3s. 3s may never be melded in ordinary play, although 3 or more black 3s may be melded in the final turn of a player going out. A meld must consist of at least 2 natural cards and can never have more than 3 wild cards. Examples: 5 of hearts, 5 of clubs, 2 of hearts, and 9 of hearts, 9 of clubs, 2 of hearts, and 2 of clubs. The Joker, they're legal melds. 5 hearts, 2 clubs, and 2 of hearts is not a legal meld as it contains only 1 natural card. 9 of hearts, 9 of clubs, 9 of diamonds, 2 of hearts, 2 of clubs, and 2 of diamonds, and a Joker is not legal either as it contains more than 3 wild cards. One team player cannot have 2 separate melds of the same rank, and if more cards of the same rank are melded, they are automatically merged into the pre-existing meld. A canasta is a meld of at least 7 cards, whether natural or mixed. A natural canasta is one that comprises only cards of the same rank. A mixed canasta, or dirty, unnatural, or black canasta, is one that compromises both natural and wild cards. Once a canasta is assembled, the cards are squared up, and one of the natural cards forming it is placed on top. A red one to indicate a natural canasta, or a black one to indicate a mixed. Each card has a specific value which determines both the score and the minimum points players need before laying down their first melds. The 4, 5, 6, and 7, they have a point value of 7. 8, 9, 10, Jack, Queen, King, 10. The 2 and the Ace, they're 20, and the Joker is 50. Now, during each hand, the first time a team lays cards on the table, the cards of the combined melds must equal a minimum meld requirement based on the values of each of the cards. At the beginning of a game, both teams have an initial meld requirement of 50 points. The count towards the requirement cannot include the value of the cards a player could possibly pick up from the discard pile, but must come only from the cards in their hand and the top discarded card in case of picking up the discard pile. If the combined value does not meet the minimum requirement, they cannot play the cards on their table, nor pick up the discard pile. After the first hand, the minimum meld requirement is based on a team score before the hand starts. So, if they're in the negative, minimum initial meld is 15. 0 to 1,495 points, 50. If they're in the 1,500 to 2,995, 90 points. 3,000 above, 120 is the minimum initial. So if a player or team has a score of 1,600 and has not yet made any melds in a hand, an initial meld of 7, 7, 7, Queen, 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 and 2 cannot be made, as it only scores 65 points, and the requirement is 90. A meld of 7, 7, 7, Ace, 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 and 2 of diamonds would score 95 points and can be played. Note that both initial melds can be played if the team's total score is below 1,500, and that neither can be played if the team's total score is 3,000 or higher. The minimum meld requirement for a team which has a negative score is 15. As any 3 cards are always worth at least 15 points, it effectively means any meld is sufficient for laying down the first meld or melds. And once a team has laid down cards on the table, the partner is free to meld whatever cards are legally allowed, meaning they do not have to meet the minimum meld requirement. The discard pile should be kept squared up, so only the top card is visible, and a player cannot look through the discard pile. At the beginning of the turn, a player may pick up the entire discard pile instead of drawing a card from the stock, and they may only pick up the discard pile if they can use the top card either in an existing meld or by making a new meld along with at least 2 other cards from the hand, which can include wild cards. Only the top card is relevant for the player team to pick up the rest of the discard pile, and in addition, if the player team has not yet melded, they must meet the initial meld requirement using the top card of the discard pile in order to pick up the pile. In the case, the points of the top card are included to meet the initial meld requirement. Discarding a wild card freezes the pile. The card should be placed at right angles to the pile so that this is still visible to indicate a frozen pile after more cards have been discarded. A frozen pile may only be picked up unfrozen if a player can meld the top card with 2 natural cards of the same rank from the player's hand. And if a wild card or a black 3 is on top of the discard pile, it may not be picked up. Playing a black 3 does not freeze the pile, it just acts as a stop card, preventing the other player from picking up the pile. The card discarded after a black 3 allows the pile to be picked up again unless it is a wild card or another black 3. The discard pile is also frozen against a player or team that has not yet melded at all this hand, though at the same time it will not be frozen for another player or team that has melded. A player may go out by using all the cards in hand only if that player team has made at least 1 canasta. The player goes out by melding all his or her cards and may discard a single final card if necessary. It is not required to discard a card in the process of legally going out. If the player or the team has not yet made any canastas, players in that team may not make a play which would leave them with no cards in the hand at the end of the turn. If a player can legally go out but has 3 or more black 3s in the hand, these may be melded at this time only. The hand ends immediately when any player goes out. Going out earns a bonus of 100 points. And when considering going out, a player may ask the partner for permission to go out. It is not required to ask partner's permission, but if done, the player must abide by the partner's answer. If the partner refuses permission, the player may not go out on this turn. If the partner responds yes, the player must go out on this turn. And if the player melds the whole hand in one turn, including at least 1 canasta, without previously melding, they earn an extra 100 points for going out concealed, making it 200 points. To earn the bonus, a player cannot add cards to the partner's melds, and is allowed to go out concealed while picking up the discard pile. The relevant initial meld requirement must be met, and the hand can also be ended by exhausting the stock. Play can continue with no stock as long as players are able to take the previous player's discard and meld it. In a situation, a player must take the discard if able to do so, and as soon as the player cannot legally take the card, the hand ends. Are we getting this? I hope. And if a player draws a red 3 as the last card from the stock, it is counted towards that player's score, but the hand ends immediately since there is no replacement card to be taken. The player is not allowed to meld nor discard after picking up the red 3 in this case. So, you've seen about the scoring. There's Canasta for 2 or 3 players. There was a Canasta League of America. There's the U.S. American Canasta and all the rules that go with it. There's the Samba, which is a variant of Canasta played with 3 decks. You have the Bolivian Canasta, Brazilian Canasta, British Canasta, Chilean Canasta, Cuban Canasta, the Italian Canasta, the Uruguayan Canasta, boat Canasta. There's a hand and foot Canasta, usually played with a quad deck. And all the fun parts. There's miscellaneous variations for Class of Canasta as well. And in pop culture, they had the expression "as dead as Canasta" cites the transience of popular interest in the game within the United States. J.D. Salinger novel The Catcher in the Rye, protagonist Holden Caulfield says of fellow student Ackley, "Listen," I said, "do you feel like playing a little canasta?" He was a canasta fiend. In the James Bond novel Goldfinger by Ian Fleming, Bond finds the titular villain Auric Goldfinger cheating at canasta with the help of Confederate who spies on the game from a hotel room balcony and feeds him information. David Bowie refers to this card game in his art rock song Lady Grinning Soul. Lucy Ricardo and Ethel Mertz played canasta in a few episodes of I Love Lucy. There's also a villain in the Warner Brothers Daffy Duck Western. His name was Dirty Canasta. So there you have it, friends. A look at Canasta in all of its glory on this edition of Jay's Retro Toys and Games. All right, next week on the program, we go back to toys. And, one of the toys that I find very interesting is, and it had a very good line of toys. It started out with in 1984, and then it's been present ever since. And the history really starts in 1983, which goes back as far as that. It's a media franchise created by the comic book artists Kevin Eastman and Peter Lard. It follows Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, and Raphael, 4 anthropomorphic turtle brothers trained in ninjutsu who fight evil in New York City. Yes, we'll be talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a little bit of history, some of the comics, and definitely get to the toys that didn't come out till 1987. Should be interesting to see that from Playmates Toys. Very good line of toys and games that go with it. So we'll look at that franchise next Wednesday on episode 61 of Jay's Retro Toys and Games. I'm Jason Icanio, thanking you very much for this edition. We hope you had a fantastic time. We'll see you next Wednesday. And remember, be honest, be real, and keep it simple, stupid. Kiss. Have a great weekend. See you on Wednesday. Bye-bye.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Democracy Network for great more content like this one.